learns his value, but it also touches on a lot of important issues of racism in the world today, and how people can be brothers and still experiencing the world in different ways based on what people judge from their outer appearance. So that one's really good, and that one I would recommend for middle school and up, as I said.
That sounds awesome.
It was good. She's a really good author. And that one's pretty brand new, so I don't know if you'll be able to find, but you could look for it online. Another one I just finished is called Rebel by Marie Lu. And she had 3 dystopian books out a number of years ago called Legend. It was the Legend series. And then she wrote this one later. So this one sort of sums up, finalizes the books that she had started. And this one takes place 10 years after the first 3. So I would recommend reading the first 3 if you haven't read this yet, but it's really the good, great dystopian series. Lot of technology. The woman who wrote this, Marie Lu, actually worked for a number of years as a video programmer, game designer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really interesting. So she always incorporates a lot of that into.
Start with the first 3, or could you, if someone were inclined, could they get by on just this one? Or
I guess you could get by, but I think you'd be missing some of the history of the characters and how they came to be the way they are. So I would recommend starting with plus it's really good. The first 3 books in the series are really good. So I would recommend that one and start with that. Then another one I read. See, I can talk all day about books.
Please do.
This one is called Red Hood. And this one I would say would be appropriate for high school and up. But also this might have some good adult crossover appeal. This is written by Elena Arnold, and she actually wrote a book last year that was one of the Prince Honor books. The Prince Award is given to young adult literature, much like Newbery Awards are given to children's books. So this is her book this year, and this is sort of a contemporary take on Little Red Riding Hood. So it deals with kind of a Little Red Riding Hood for the Me Too generation. So it's a little bit of magic realism and kind of a little bit of there's a little bit of fantasy, but it does take place in present day. And it definitely touches on issues of feminism and female empowerment, why sometimes men become wolves, for example. And this had me getting a lot thinking about the origin of the fairy tale of Little Red Riding Hood. So I actually did some research on that. This got me thinking, well, how did that really start? And it turns out, of course, like many fairy tales, this story has been told in oral form for years and years, generations and generations. And it really only became more of a sanitized and for children's version of the story of Little Red Riding Hood in maybe the 17th or 18th century. So this is really interesting, and it will probably get you thinking about why fairy tales were originally told orally. And this was just really interesting in that.
Well, that's how a lot of those old fairy tales are, right? They're sanitized was a really good word there. They really were sanitized and made to be children's stories in the last couple hundred years, whereas a lot of them are fairly dark.
Exactly, dark and violent and scary. And we don't normally associate them with that. We're more used to, especially with all the Disney versions now too, of all the fairy tales.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, exactly. So this one was, that's why this really got me thinking about the origin of Little Red Riding Hood and where that might have come from. So definitely recommend that for, like I said, high school and up. How am I doing? Keep going?
Yeah, if you have more. Okay.
All right. So this one is called The Shadows Between Us. And this is written by Tricia Levenseller. And she is a really good fantasy writer. So this one is definitely fantasy. It's about a girl who is actually decides that she's going to woo the Shadow King, marry him, then kill him so that she can run the kingdom as the queen. Yes. So she basically sort of finds her way to infiltrate the court of the Shadow King. But of course, as she gets to know the Shadow King, things get more complicated. And the Shadow King has his own background, sort of involves magic. He's followed by these shadows, and nobody's really quite sure what the origin of the shadows is. Does the shadows protect him? So nobody really knows what that's all about. So the book explores that as they get to know each other and get to figure out how they can manage to save the kingdom, which is actually experiencing other troubles from other fronts. But a very strong female. I'm not quite sure I'd call her a heroine. She's maybe a little bit of an anti-heroine as well. Um, but I certainly enjoyed reading her side of the story. And you've got to admire somebody who wants to. Why should she let the king lead? Why can't she lead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that one called again? Because that actually is really intriguing to me.
Sounds
I might
good,
add
huh?
that to my list.
Yeah, this one's called the Shadows Between Us.
The Shadows Between Us. And who is that one by?
Her first name is Trisha, and her last name is spelled Levenseller. Levenseller.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna look into that because that one sounds great.
Are you a fantasy reader?
I am, and I'm not, in the sense that it's very hard for me to really. I love reading. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard for me to get into stories. Most of the reading I do is informational.
Mm.
Actually, I believe you would know my aunt and Tony Alexander.
Oh my God, you're
Yeah.
related to Tony?
Yeah,
Who
she's my
is
mom's
it?
sister. Yeah. Oh, in my family, that's very much true. She could tell you, ever since I was a little kid, I've been super fascinated with animals, and I know a ton about animals. So that is most of what I read. But if I read fiction, I do love fantasy. I actually just started reading a few weeks ago, or not a few weeks ago, recently, Terry Pratchett. The
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that series is hilarious so far.
Yeah, he's got a lot of books. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I also, the one before that I was reading was The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss.
I don't know that. That must be an adult. I'm not familiar with
Yes,
that one.
it is an adult fantasy. I mean, it could be young adult. There's nothing like bad about it, but I think it's just a little more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bad judge of that, honestly. But yeah, no, I love fantasy. I'm gonna get into Lord of the Rings eventually, but
yeah, this one's nice too because it's a standalone. A lot of fantasy nowadays, especially for young adult, are part of a series. So this is nice. It's a one-off. You can just read. You don't have to wait for the next book to come out in the series. All right, I've got two more. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. We have plenty of time.
Okay, so another one I just read is called The Midnight Lie, and this is by an author, Marie Rutkoski, and she had a really good series out several years ago. And this actually takes place in the same world that she created for the series, but this is I think it's a duology. I think it's going to be two books. So this is the first in the duology. And this is also fantasy. And this is about a teenage girl who discovers that she has a certain power that involves time. And this can somehow be used in the world that she lives in. Am I still on? Should I keep going? I can't see you, Matt.
You're still there.
Okay, I couldn't see anybody. All right. So this world is also sort of run on a caste system almost.
Okay.
There are different classes, and she, of course, is one of the lower classes, but she can use her special skills to try and work her way up to some of the upper classes. And on her way, this one's nice too because it also has a gay lesbian character in it. So this, if you're interested in that kind of material, that kind of characters, that has the main character in this book is a lesbian, and she gets involved with another woman who actually presents as a man first. So it's very interesting. So I would recommend this for maybe a high school and up. And as I said, this is part of a duology. And she's one of my favorite writers too. So I would recommend that.
I missed the title of that. My internet cut out there for about 30
Yeah, I
seconds.
lost
I missed.
you.
Yeah, I was just gone there. Everything shut down on my computer, and then it popped back in. So what is that one again?
Okay, this one's called The Midnight Lie.
The Midnight Lie. Okay, cool.
Lie, yeah, Midnight Lie by Marie Rutkoski. And her former series, she had a series of 3 books out, the Winter's Curse series. So that I would also recommend. So this takes place in the same world that she created, but
Oh, cool.
different characters, new plot. Okay, and here's the final one I'll talk about today.
All right.
And this one you can see I'm only about a third of the way through at this point, but I just started this one recently, and it's called The Light in Hidden Places. And this is by Sharon Cameron, one of my other favorite authors. And this is actually historical fiction based on the life of a woman named Stephania, I'm going to mispronounce her name, Stephania Podgarski, who was Polish during World War II. She was in a city in Poland, actually worked for a Jewish family, and they became pretty much her real family. And then, of course, the Germans invaded, and her Jewish family was put in the ghetto there. And so this involves what happened to her and her younger sister as they eventually started hiding Jews in her apartment outside the ghetto in this city. And I had not known about this woman before I started this book.
Oh no.
But apparently she was awarded given an award for what she had done during the Holocaust in saving people. And it's just, so this is fascinating so far. So this is really good. And she's got great author notes at the back. She obviously did her research. And the woman only died in, I think, she only died, I think that was sad. I think she only died in 2018.
Oh wow.
So unfortunately she passed basically almost right before this book was published. So she did not live to see the publication of this book. But the author did meet her and did extensive research all through Poland and with her family members and some of the people that she had helped. So this one's really good too. I would recommend this also.
Cool. So we're going to go over to Tom for a second because he says he has a few questions to ask. So Tom, take it away.
Oh, awesome.
Hi, Ann. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us today.
I am. Thank you.
Excellent. We do want to mention that we want to know what you are reading out there. So feel free to comment on our YouTube live stream or our Facebook page. And we do have one comment from our good friend John. He says he's making his way through Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. You ever heard of that book, Ann?
Oh, yeah. Classic. Yeah.
And I want to know, what are some of your favorite books of all time, and what's your favorite kind of book to read?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, boy. I always struggle when people ask me these kinds of questions because I just love reading so much. I have, as you can see, I read a lot of different genres. So I don't necessarily have one specific kind of genre that I love the most. And that also means that I kind of get involved with lots of different authors. I can tell you probably some of the, let me see, some of my favorite books of all time, I guess, if I had to choose. Anne of Green Gables, Pride and Prejudice, In the Time of the Butterflies by Julia Alvarez, adult novel. The Hate You Give, Angie Thomas, for a YA novel there. But that's just off the top of my head. Honestly, I love reading so much that I just, like I said, I just breathe it all in, and I just love it so much.
And could you just tilt down your laptop screen a little bit more so we can lose that head?
Like that?
Perfect. Much
Yeah.
better.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Hey, I got a question for you. So with everything going on today, how easy is it to get books from the library?
actually, if you can get a card online right now, if you go to our webpage and you can download books to any kind of device that you're using. So it's actually still relatively easy to get a book. You just may not read it in the same format as you're used to. But yeah, go to our webpage. There's information there that you can look for.
Terrific. And also, are there any new releases that you're looking forward to?
Oh, yes, there are. Um, if I can remember them now, you're stumping me with this question. Let me see. Oh God, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on them but there are a
That's
lot.
okay.
April is actually, yeah, April, May. There are good months for a number of new books coming out for teens that they will enjoy. So I'll be trying to get those in. But yeah, I'm sorry, I can't think of any off the top of my head. But there are definitely some new books coming out. It was a little bit slow there in January, February, but it's picking up again for April and May.
So like this whole mess with the virus hasn't affected books coming out. Like some of the movies I've been looking forward to are being pushed back months, which
That's
obviously
actually, I think that's still a question that they're sort of working on because a lot of authors were supposed to go on tour in the next couple of months to promote their books. So I'm not really sure at this point if they're going to be pushing back some of the new releases to enable the authors to go on tour later, or if they'll still continue with the new releases and then just have the tours later. And it may vary by publisher and author and title. So
right.
I'm not sure. I think we will still see some new releases, but it may not be as many as originally were intended.
Interesting.
So, Ann, who are the authors that these young adults that you serve are looking to read and why?
Well, let's see. That depends a lot on who the young adult is, whether they're in
Gotcha.
middle school or high school,
All
or
right, so
whether they're
we'll say the high school range.
okay. High school range. Let's see. High school range. They love actually. Cassandra Clare had a new book come out, and they love Cassandra Clare. They've been reading a lot of the Jenny Han books because that series has been on Netflix. Becky Albertalli, Adam Silvera had a new one out recently, so they're a couple favorite authors. Then for the younger crowd, we sort of have Rick Riordan and Jewel Parker Rhodes that I mentioned. Jason Reynolds actually has a new nonfiction book out called Stamped that I have yet to read, but he's very popular. So those are some of the people that they love to read, but it really depends again on their age and what they're into, what kind of genre. Some of them only like to read fantasy. Some of them only like to read realistic fiction. Some of them are all over the place. So
So we'll say, are there any books that interest a middle schooler that I probably read in middle school? Are any of the classics out there? Anyone ask for them, or do you recommend them on a regular basis?
one thing I've noticed is that the middle school students still do, I think, a dystopian fiction unit. So they come in looking for some of what we would consider to be more classics, modern classics, like Fahrenheit 451. Sometimes they'll come looking for Lord of the Flies just because they've heard something about it. Um, Not so much things like The Outsiders anymore. That's kind of, but yeah, occasionally they do. And Little Women, when that movie came out, we did
Of
have people
course,
coming in
yeah.
looking for that. Yeah. Um, yeah, so some of the classics still circulate. Others, not so much. Swiss Family Robinson, nah. But but I don't know. What did you read in middle school?
Well, everything that you mentioned, and you'll add a little To Kill a Mockingbird to,
Yep, yep.
yeah, like you did mention, The Outsiders, Children of the Corn, and one of my,
Oh,
and of course, I graduated in 1984, so freshman year, freshman sophomore year, 1984 was required reading as
yep.
well.
And I
And
still think they do teach some of those at the high school. I'm not sure what
do,
grades. And I
do,
think To Kill a Mockingbird is still at the middle school, maybe. But
I believe so too. And I
yeah.
remember the drama club pulled together incredible performance many years ago, and I'm going to say at least 6 or 8 years ago.
That would have been 2007 because
That was you. Oh, 13. Wow. See how the time flies. I've been covering these plays for a long time. And
Yep.
yes, they did an incredible job. The entire so seeing all that and knowing, do you think that the schools tend to teach the classics more than the kids coming on their own to find them, whether they're pushed by a parent or a grandparent?
um, well, I don't want to get myself in trouble here, but yeah, I do think the classics are pushed maybe more than they should be, especially at this point in time. There's so much fantastic young adult teen literature out there. I didn't have a lot of that when I grew up.
Right.
As you can probably tell by some of the favorites that I mentioned.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I think it's a shame that not more of these titles aren't being used in curricula. That's why I love this dystopian unit that they do, because they do, I think, they work in like Hunger Games, City of Ember,
Sure.
different YA books that deal with dystopian. So I'd love to see more of that. And I think too, there's a time and a place maybe to read a classic, but it may not be when you're in middle or high school.
Sure.
May not even be when you're in college. It may be when you're 35 and 40 and have time to ruminate on Brothers Karamazov and all those great things that are going on in that book. But it may not be now for most kids.
That's great.
Yeah,
Well,
a lot of my friends who are avid readers are big into young adult novels because, especially, I think the primary reason for that is because there's a lot of queer characters in novels nowadays, and so a lot of my friends are looking for stories like that.
Hmm. That's one of the wonderful things I love about teen young adult literature. They tend to tackle and get on a lot more of the issues that we're dealing with in society, gender issues, race issues, class issues. They tackle things before anybody else does, really, in the works of literature. They're always one or two steps ahead of other people, which is fabulous, because that's when kids, especially too kids who are growing up today, that's when they're questioning their identity, questioning who they are as a person, questioning their strengths and weaknesses, trying to figure out how to navigate society. So yeah, they do tend to get to really the heart of things faster than other novelists do.
And we
Yeah.
have
I just remembered another big one that's coming out. Kira Cass has a new book that's coming out, and she's very popular with teens. Her Elite series was very popular. So Kira Cass has a new one coming out. I think that's going to be big.
That sounds great. We do have a quick question from Tom from YouTube.
Yeah, we got a couple of YouTube questions. So somebody wants to know, what's the deal with the library's alphabet scavenger hunt, and can we play along? And also, what's your opinion on graphic novels?
um, the alphabet scavenger hunt, I don't know that much about. It's being done with the children's librarian. So I would suggest going to our webpage again. I think you can sign up that way. My understanding of it is that she has a letter a day or a letter a week, and you need to go locate at least 3 things in your house that begin with that letter. But I'm not an expert on that. It's the children's librarian doing that. So I would, again, go to our webpage to make sure you read that information. Graphic novels, that's an excellent question, because this year, for the first time, the Prince Award, as I was talking about, was awarded too, and I believe it was the Newbery Award too. New Kid by Jerry Craft, which is a graphic novel. Graphic novels have come hundreds of miles from where they started out. There are some really amazing authors writing graphic novels. Graphic novels are tackling a lot of the same issues that you're getting in regular fiction. So I would not look down on graphic novels. They are a worthy genre these days, worthy of reading, worthy of discussing, worthy of pushing. Don't criticize your child if they're reading a graphic novel. That's important stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I have a friend who he's a teacher, so he's not teaching right now, or at least in person right now. Obviously, he reads a ton of graphic novels,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and even when
Yeah, there's really some
has
great
been.
quality coming out, and a couple series are very popular. A couple of authors, Raina Telgemeier is really popular. So yeah, graphic novels have really come a long way. They have a lot to say. They're an important part of the literature out there right now.
That's awesome. Unfortunately, Anne, we do have to wrap up here. This has been a great conversation. We're gonna have to have you back again if you ever have more books to recommend.
All right, give me a week or two to catch up on some more reading, and I can be
Yeah,
back.
sure. We'll be doing this then. So thank you so much for coming on.
All right, thank you for having me.
No
Happy
problem.
reading, everybody.
Thanks, Ann.
You too. Have a good
Bye
one.
bye.
All right. And Matt, I think you could take it away with the insider.
Oh yeah, right. Well, tomorrow on Hangouts, let me find. Oh, okay. Yep, I thought I was on the wrong thing on the slide sheet. Tomorrow we're gonna have Amy Beck and Maureen and Erin Belger on the show, and on Thursday we're gonna have Laurel Coolbaugh, and we're also gonna have John Ritz on talking about running. So, oh, and then Friday we're gonna have Margie Wiggin and Kelly Grill. So, those should be good.
Terrific. And I think Jim's going to come back and take it away for the next half hour. But there he is. Jim, how you doing?
Jim is here.
Welcome back.
All right. Hey, that was a great half hour. I really enjoyed
thank
listening
you.
in to all the books that she was talking about.
Yeah, a lot of really interesting options there.
Yeah. Has
definitely
Cheryl
gonna have to
joined
check
us
out
yet,
one of
Matt?
I have not seen her.
Okay. She'll be in the waiting room when she comes in. You can let her in as soon as she comes in. We can get started on our second half hour.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So this half hour is kind of different because we don't have a particular guest talking about a particular piece of knowledge. In this half hour, we're going to be talking about our goals in doing this program and some of the tools that we have in order to accomplish that. As you all know, we are doing this show because we can do this remotely and we can bring in guests from anywhere that they want to be. This program is really doing what I call accentuating the C in HCAM. HCAM is Hopkinton's Community Access and Media Station. And C, community, is what we're all about, especially during these times when we're trying to socially isolate, when we're trying to quarantine and trying to get ahead of this virus. It's really important for us to stay connected so that we're not just alone in our rooms binge watching Netflix like Mike does. So, so our goal in this half hour is to show you how you can connect with us. And we hope that we encourage you to actually go ahead and do that.
Well,
So,
Cheryl just came in the waiting room, so I'm going to let her in.
wonderful.
Dude.
I'm going to wait for her to pop in.
There it is.
Okay. And let's see. So she has to unmute her microphone and turn her video on, and then she will be fully present with us. Okay, so, oh, there we go. Cheryl's got her camera going, and now we're just waiting for her to unmute her microphone, which she can do when she's ready to talk. So, Cheryl, welcome. We just introduced the show, which was actually really important for you because you had a question on that. You are not expected to come here and give a presentation. This is you just giving some knowledge and some information and some exciting news about Friday. The whole half hour here, we're talking to our community about how to connect with their community through HCAM and all the things that we have to offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So welcome aboard.
Well, thank you. And it's good to see all of your faces there. I've enjoyed tuning into some of your programs, and it's, I think, a great resource for our community at this time. So thank you all for your service for community.
All right, thanks. Okay, let's start off with Mike sharing page 1 of our prepared graphics.
All righty. So where's the page 1? Are we popping it up?
The Connect with Us page.
I could share it if you want.
All right.
Please.
If you can grab it, Tom, go right ahead.
So there we
Okay.
go. Connect with us. Many, many ways to connect with us. And it's easy to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channels. Like us on Facebook. Facebook, we have thousands and thousands of likes. We update that several times a day as the news comes in. It's really fresh. Follow us on Twitter. The Twitter handle, everything is HCAM TV for our handles on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Instagram was new, and this is my worst. My worst thing to cover is Instagram, and Tom does it better because he does such a great job. HCAM TV for me. Um, Follow us there. Email, just email the studio at hcamtv.tv, and we'll reply to your emails. And of course, give us a phone call, 508-435-7887. And everyone says on YouTube, why are you giving your phone number on YouTube? Well, this is also going out on television right now as we're talking to the people at home, and not everybody has the internet. So there's several ways we want your stories, we want your pictures, we want your news, your press releases, and we want to help you get that word out to Hopkins.
So that's it. I can't think of any more ways for us. Actually, we could put our snail mail address on there if people wanted to send us a postcard.
Jim,
We didn't
I still have that MySpace account that we can always you
Okay. So those are all the options and the opportunities, and that's what they are. It's an opportunity while we're at home, while we are trying to stay home and trying not to go out into the community, what can we do to still maintain a sense of connection? I am Skyping my parents now. My wife is Zooming with her mother. And, we're just trying to have some conversations and stay connected. And I would like to encourage you all to share with us what you're doing. Tom, why don't you put up page 2? And this is just a quick example of some of the opportunities that we have. So this first one is comment on our YouTube live feed. So here's like a recent show. And while the show is going on, there is an opportunity to chat during the show, which is awesome. We let people, they can ask questions, and then usually Tom is the social media guy, and he will relay those in real time to the guests and the host on the show, and kind of get some more information and get some answers. Next page, Tom. This is an example of our Facebook. And you know what? If you say to yourself, well, why would you even need to post this? Because everybody knows Facebook. I don't really Facebook as much as others do. So it's nice to kind of see this example. We put questions at the Tom, why don't you talk a little bit about Facebook?
Sure. We put previews to each episode of the Hopkinton Hangout Hour. And then we have posts about what the next episode is going to be about. And those posts are always pinned to the top of the page because we're taking comments, questions for our guests during the show. So we're always checking our Facebook account during our Hopkinton Hangout hours because we want to give the community opportunity to ask questions or give their commentary on whatever we are talking about. And also, we certainly want you to share what you're doing during this time. So we have a lot of posts such as what are you cooking? What are you reading? What games are you playing? And if you share a picture, uh, we like to get those out there to the community, get those on our website. I think it's a lot of fun to get different people involved and have them sharing their different experiences. So we have all kinds of great content on Facebook. And of course, we have the latest with what's happening in town as well with the COVID situation and with any anything else going on as well. Some great stories on our Facebook page also about
Okay,
everything happening in town.
Great, thank you. You can stop sharing for right now. I think other than Mike's MySpace page, this is our oldest social media that we have. Am I correct on that, Mike?
Yes, I believe you are correct on that.
All right.
Although I think we still have a LinkedIn something. It could be a link, you know. Oh, and do we still have a Google Plus? Is that what
No,
it is? No,
no,
we never
no,
got Google Plus.
no, we did not.
Okay.
Um, this is so Facebook. I mean, I don't have to explain what Facebook is. Everybody understands the concept. And on our page, we try to do a distilled everything Hopkinton on there. It's a wonderful way to have a conversation, not in real time, but to express information. Right now, I'd like to talk to Cheryl because she has been on this show in the past, and she's also been the host of many, many shows that have shown on HCAM. And what I really love about Cheryl is her heart and her passion for people and for finding connection and beauty in the world that surrounds us through art. You probably know her as the host of Wake Up, Smell the Poetry, and also the host of Meet Your Neighbor. Again, Meet Your Neighbor is fantastic. It is simply meeting people in our community and learning about them. So, Cheryl, first, this is kind of an interview question, but I just want, how did Meet Your Neighbor originally come about?
Well, Mike, how many? Oh, you're on mute, but I'm wondering how many years we've been doing that as I go back in time.
Meet Your Neighbor has to be at least 10 years. We started with it was a Valentine's Day. We were at the senior center interviewing couples about living through the Depression. And I think that's what spun it off to go with your Metro West articles that you were doing.
Yeah, and it was around that time also, I had been working as a hospice volunteer, and I was doing life review writing with hospice patients. And as I had come back to writing, this was a service I could provide over there. And I discovered that it offered the family a means of legacy for their loved ones who would do this interview and writing with me. And I discovered as I was doing the interviews with these people that there was an important process going on for them while they were interviewing that was sitting down and making time to reflect and synthesize on one's life. And I saw how that really was activating for them, even in their last days, pretty meaningful process. And when UMass discontinued with hospice services, I was connected to you here at HCAM TV and really missed being able to interview people about their lives, seeing it as a valuable process and realizing that we really should be making more time to do this throughout the course of our life and not just waiting until the very end. And so with what I was involved with at the time at HCAM, and I think I proposed, what if we do a bit of interview and life review with our Hopkinton neighbors here, so we can get a sense of knowing one another at a deeper level, what everybody's story is about that we're neighbors with here.
A very, very simple concept and so powerful. It's just awesome to listen and watch these shows and get to know these people.
Well, I've loved being part of everyone and getting to meet the people and hear their stories, and to work with Mike on that and get the film out that he does so well, so that other people can get to know people in our town and their stories, and the importance of making some time to share our stories with one another as well.
Right. So let's talk about sharing for a minute. You've hosted a lot of shows here on HCAM. I think you're very comfortable in the position. And would you like to talk about what you'll be hosting this Friday evening?
Yes, well, we just got that settled this morning. So this is hot off the cyber press, I guess. That I'm delighted that we can continue with Wake Up and Smell the Poetry and what was planned for initially Saturday morning, but because of where we are right now, we are on board instead for the program on Friday night at 7. And Wake Up and Smell the Poetry is a program that offers an opportunity to share the art of our words through poetry, original songs shared, and literary work or storytelling also. And at this point, there are 2 guest features who have a half hour each. And this past year, they have been 1 poet and 1 songwriter. So, who was on board for Saturday, who will be showing up Friday night? We have the music duo, the Lied Twos, who will be performing some of their songs from 2 separate locations. And I'm excited that they said yes, as well as poet Nadia Colburn, who has just recently released a book, The Higher Shelf. And she said yes also to join and share some of her poetry from her book. So this will be an hour of program. We won't have the open mic. We will miss that, but I am really excited that we can offer this program through HCAM TV.
Don't give up on the idea of an open mic, because in the future, with Zoom video, we could definitely do an open mic.
What they do? Limit you to 100 guests? Yeah, we could do that.
Just 100.
Yes,
That's
100
all.
guests.
Right. So I love this, because what are we doing while we're quarantining? We're watching TV, watching movies, we're reading books. We're doing things that are connecting us to the artistic world. And this show is a way of doing that, and including HCAM and including everybody in our community who can watch it. So I think that's exciting. HCAM, we do a lot of covering things that are happening and giving information and interviewing people. That is all great, and I really value that. At the same time, I also value the ability to connect with people artistically and creatively. So this is really, really looking forward to this show on Friday.
Same here, and thank you for making it possible. And I look forward to getting the word out now that we've got it in place too.
Right. I think that's going to be really exciting.
That's the thing about technology; it can happen so fast, right?
I know. All comes together. There's Laurel Kuba from the Sanctuary at Woodville approached me about doing a Good Friday service. We're going to be doing a Good Friday interfaith 45-minute service on Friday.
Wonderful.
Their Sunday service is going to go live on the air. It's it's as I had said at the beginning of this series, it's not the usual HCAM quality that you're expecting, but it is the community that is what counts, and that is the focus here. So just connecting these people and these organizations and these artists is just an awesome thing.
It is. Yes. Well,
all right. Let's take a minute and turn, Tom, to page 4. If you could share that screen. Now, this is our newest social media. You wanna who's been posting most on Instagram? Would that be Mike or Tom?
I would say that's been me.
That's definitely Tom.
Take it away, Tom. Tell us about Instagram.
Well, right now on Instagram, you could catch a lot of information about what's going on right here on HCAM. You can see that we have some of our shows, information about some of our Hopkinton Hangout hours and what we'll be talking about. And then also we have a post that I just put on there yesterday about the Good Friday service that you can catch right here live on HCAM. So you'll get a lot of information on our Instagram page in more of a visual fashion, but some great information up there.
Wonderful. Thanks. You can stop that now. I kind of look at, I mean, if I had to say, I would say that Instagram is kind of like Facebook for the younger generation. It's amazing to me when I go into the high school how many kids do not have a Facebook page, but do have an Instagram account. It's just like the new thing. It's the way to do it.
I think all us Gen X's pushed the kids out of Facebook, which Facebook was what? To talk about class courses and professors throughout the colleges and institutions. And then it went down to the high school level before it went to the public. And then everyone saw the need how to connect. Next thing you know, I got a reunion page connecting with my classmates from good old Malden High 1984. And, we're connected that way. And of course, we just push the kids out and the kids look for something better.
Instagram is Facebook without words.
Yeah,
I know.
pretty much. Very
And
few words.
I'm sorry to have to tell this to you, Mike, but we didn't push them out. They left it behind when it was no longer cool because we are there.
I guess, yeah, maybe I could, yeah, I can agree with that because that's how I left MySpace.
And what's the new Instagram?
Oh, TikTok.
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 Exactly.
The video now, instead of pictures with no words, you have video with no description.
I know.
That's going to be next for us, isn't it?
No.
Oh,
Not this guy. No.
I can't take it on. I can't do another thing. I'm socialed out. All right. The last thing, the last possibility I want to present to anybody who's viewing this show and looking to get connected in these times, if you could put up the last page, Tom, is this actual show, the Hangout Hour. This is not a typical HCAM show where we bring people on and we interview them and they pass knowledge in one direction to you. This is a show that is a conversation among our community. So you're welcome, and we hope that you will take us up on the offer and be on our show. We have 2 half-hour segments every day of the week from 2 to 2:30 and 2:30 to 3 o'clock. If you go to that webpage there, hcam.tv/hangout, there is a form that you can fill out. Tell us what days and times are good for you. You can tell us some of your interests and join us. Just join us. Sometimes we're talking about, as you saw, we're talking about books that you're reading. I'd like to know what you're reading. We did a show about what you're cooking during this time. And by the way, if you watch that show, you know my mother makes an awesome chicken, rice, and gravy. In fact, I should get the recipe for the next time that we do that. But we want to know what you're cooking. We want to know what you're watching. We want to know what games you're playing with your family. One of the pictures you saw earlier today was a family playing a game together. These are the things. You talk about these things in life. You can also talk about them in a wider community by joining this show. So I do hope that you do that. And as an example, let me put her on the spot and let me ask Cheryl Peralt, what are you and yours doing for spending time?
That is a good question, right? I think I would have to say spending a lot of time in the present moment of each day. I feel like I am resisting any call to schedule, which I had been pretty driven to before. But because I have been, like everyone else in my own way, dealing with the shell shock of this pandemic and how it has impacted us all over the world in different ways. Every day is different. And I try to take in news and take in balance with the news to keep myself calm as possible with a peace of mind. So some days I'm reading, some days I'm checking on my family through Zoom or with phone. I'm trying to journal a little bit. I am working on my spiritual practice in thinking about my own people, but thinking about the whole world. And I'm just trying to do the best and take care of myself and my husband, where we are taking care of ourselves and supporting one another, and then going outward and checking in on people as we are able to. But every day is different, so trying to be present with that. Not making
Wonderful.
any long-term plans right now.
Yes.
Tomorrow is our anniversary, 36 years.
No kidding.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Do you have any special plans? Oh, I don't
We'll
want
wait and see.
I was gonna say I don't want to like spoil anything if you're playing a little surprise for them.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll find a piece of chocolate in the freezer.
I know. Uh, actually, I'm also going to put Bob on the spot. Bob, so you are our government meeting coordinator. So traditionally, you've been pretty plugged in to what's going on at various and sundry government meetings and talking to people like that. How are you connecting with community during this time?
Well, my connections with the community are basically online because, just like Cheryl, I just had my 50th wedding anniversary on April 4th, and all of our plans had to be put on hold. We didn't go anywhere, we couldn't go out. So, on the phone, um, with the government meetings, they've only recently started them up, and I'm looking forward to having the school committee on Thursday. I've already talked to Georgette, and she's going to process the Zoom meetings as soon as they get authorization to go public. But we also have tonight the select board meeting, and that should be pretty interesting for the first time for the select board going live. Last night we did the ZAC committee. They have pretty much shortened their meetings to try and cover only the essentials, but it's still starting to snowball. And I think after we had Heather on from the library, a lot of people have said that they recognize that there's quite a value to having the ability to reach the community through the television rather than just online on the internet. There are a lot of people, well, I'll say my age, maybe younger, that don't necessarily like to go online. They prefer to turn on the TV set, select the HCAM channel they prefer, and watch it in their 40-inch high-def TV. And I think that that's going to continue. As long as we have this format, I think it's going to be good for the community. We often, now that the senior center's closed, don't have much that we can provide the seniors. But I think they know that it's out there, and we'd like to get more. We've gotten emails from individuals that either do events at the senior center, exercises, cooking, that kind of thing. They're filming some of their meetings so that they, not meetings, but presentations, so that they can be aired on HCAM. And hopefully we'll get a lot of that out coming in the next couple of weeks.
I agree. You made a really good point. If I had a choice between sitting at my desk and watching this show or any HCAM show on my laptop screen, or I could be sitting on my comfy couch looking at it on my big TV, I would much rather be doing the latter. So I agree with you. All right. And that is going to bring us to the end of this show. Thank you all for being on and for being part of HCAM and for keeping us connected during these difficult times.
Good to see you all.
All right. And that's it for this show. We hope that we hear from you and we hope that we see you soon. And please stay safe, stay well, and let's hear from you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.